Imagine yourself on a small fishing boat in the waters surrounding Japan. The day so far has been peaceful. That is, until your small boat starts to shake violently. You look around at the open waters around you, only to see the massive waves crashing at the side of your boat. And then you see it, a glimpse of it, a large fishtail with gold and silver scales. You then see two large human hands holding onto your boat, and not long after, you see the head of a woman with large horns on her head. All you can do is stare as she eats the other crew members. The meaning of Akugyo is evil fish, and there are a few other names that they go by, such as Daigyo, which means giant fish, or Raicho, which means Thunderbird fish. The Akugyo is an aquatic yokai in Japanese mythology. They reside in the surrounding waters of Japan. The sighting of the Akugyo are rare, but the very first time one was seen was in 1805, and it was either off the coast of Ichigo province, which is now known as present-day Toyama Prefecture, or Kaiba province, which is now known as Okama Prefecture. The Akugyo is a large mermaid with the head and arms of a human, and the rest of her body is that of a fish. She is covered in gold and silver scales. She has long black hair and two horns on her head that are about 60 centimeters tall, and she is about 11 meters long. She can also shoot fire from her mouth. The most common way that the Akugyo gets you is by creating waves under your boat so that it gets stuck on her back, which eventually makes the boat tip over. And that is when she can consume you and all the other people on the boat. There is one account from a famous Teiko master from Keiga who was on a boat sailing in the seas of Japan. At some point, the boat had stopped moving, and they realized that the boat was stuck on the back of the Akugyo. Believing that he was doomed to die, he began to play his taiko as loud and as hard as he could with all his might. The sound traveled to the sky and through the sea. The boat then began to shake, and soon was back on the water, and his life was saved. There is not much that I could find on the Akugyo, but I did find an image that had a drawing of her and a paragraph about her. The book is available on empik, or empik, which I believe is a Polish book website. I had translated as much as I could from Polish to English. This is what it said. From the accounts of the few sailors who escaped the meeting with the Akugyo, it is impossible to put together a coherent description of the monster. Some swear that their ship was crashed and crushed by the jaws of a giant fish. Others, in turn, deny these rumors and say that just before sinking, a giant head of a woman with horns emerged from the sea, and then two hands with it. At the end, a fish body, with a tail of fins filled with spikes. Hence, the assumption that the Akugyo is probably a monster mermaid, straight from the darkest depths of the ocean floor. She comes up to get some oxygen and bask in the sun rays. It swims below the surface, but does so very rarely. So, the ships must be extremely unlucky to run into her. The creature can create tsunami waves, and she can choke sailors like a handful of peanuts. We ask ourselves, what happened to the Akugyo? Well, it was said that a lord of Kaiga sent 1,500 men and 450 guns to slay her. Did they succeed in their mission? Or was their fate the same as the sailors? Regardless of only being seen a few times, the fishermen still fear her very much and hope that their boats do not get stuck on her back. And I don't blame them. The deep waters are an endless place of fear and unknown. Is she truly gone? Or is there much more to the myth of the Akugyo than we will ever know?